This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, health, tax, professional advice. We're not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast. This podcast is not intended to replace professional medical advice. The views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or the management. This podcast may contain adult themes, so parental discretion is advised. So today we welcome, this inspiring Mirah Young, a Christian thought leader, speaker and author of Mirror Method, 7 Days of Authentic, of the Authentic. Mirah empowers women to break free from routines, embrace self-reflection, and rediscover their purpose. With wisdom, faith, and a heart for personal growth, she is here to share transformative insights that will leave you inspired and uplifted. So welcome.
Thank you so much.
All
Thank you for
right.
having
So if you want to expound on your credentials or anything, that you
me.
think is
That was a beautiful, beautiful intro. I like you said, I'm a woman of God. I'm also the author of the Mirror Method, 7 Ways to your most authentic self. And also I am a certified in organizational leadership. And I am currently on the journey to becoming a personal development coach. But most importantly, I'm here to speak to the women that are hiding behind their highlight reels. The women that is questioning if they have worthiness and have imposter syndrome. You may not be perfect, but you're perfectly and wonderfully made. So I'm here, and I'm just glad to really be here to encourage people and to make them look in the mirror and love what they see.
All right, that's awesome. So, we're bombarded with social media and people, we look around and people seem to be living their best life. So what does it mean to you to live authentically? What does it mean?
That is a great question. And I would have to say, living authentic is about being who God has called you to be and walking in your purpose. I see today a lot, people want freedom, but freedom takes discipline and self-control. Freedom takes more than just doing whatever you want. Sometimes you have to stop and really step back from doing whatever you want to be able to really get into the purpose that God has called you to be, so that you can do the things in just a magnificent way. So being your authentic self is finding the purpose that God has for you and that he's called you to do, and walking in that boldly.
So how has faith influenced your personal growth and leadership style? You're talking about your faith a few minutes ago. So how does that influence your leadership style
I think that faith is in everything I do, but in my leadership style, it has grown me to really understand how to have that touch of soft touch or strong spirit. So what that looks like for me is being able to assert myself in a way of love. As we lead, we need to lead with love. We need to lead with care. And that's so important as a leader, because when we get together as women, sometimes we may go, back and forth with each other, or sometimes we may forget about the bigger picture. So coming together and leading, whether it's a team of women or men, with love and showing them why they're doing what they're doing, and having also that strong spirit to say, I'm in it with you. That's really how I like to lead. And with that love in mind, as always, I believe that, my faith just follows, and it allows me to have faith in my people that are following me. And it allows me to lead in a way of everything's going to work out for my good.
So, but when you look in the mirror, at what point did you, decide to embrace, when you saw whatever flaws you have, at what point did you decide to embrace the flaws and all the other things that you have? What point?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great question. In 2017, I was in a car accident. This car accident was life-changing, which caused me to reevaluate my entire life. At the time, I was going to Clark Atlanta University, and I was on my way to school driving, and this car accident was catastrophic. I hit a tree and my whole car smashed up. Not only did my car smash up, but mentally, my life smashed up. I jumped out of the car, but I realized when I looked down, my knee was out of my bone, and I had to crawl all the way 2 lanes to get to safety because I thought the car was going to blow up because it was so mangled within the tree. And I got across the street, and by the time I look up, I don't remember anything, but I'm in the hospital at this point. And as I'm in the hospital, I hear the doctor say, I may never be able to walk again. Almost a year later, after therapy sessions, surgeries, I was healed, not by my will alone, but by God's will. And by that, I decided that from that moment, I would devote my life to Christ. I would devote my life to what he has called me to do. And I would also walk in my true authenticity, because at the time, I feel like I was trying to people please. I was trying to be someone I wasn't. I was trying to do all the things that I had no business doing. And when I looked in the mirror the first time after the accident and after the surgeries, I didn't recognize myself. So I had to relearn myself. And in relearning myself, I had to also learn how to love the new me. And as women and as people alone, we go through this process of we may need to be redefined and learning ourselves again and learning how to love the new us in different phases of our life. And that's what made me really step into, this is who I am now, and I have to accept that. And also helping women to accept who they are and loving who they are, because this is the journey that God has you on right now, and not looking at it in a different manner of, woe is me. So I think my outlook changed, and I wanted to tell other people that, you too can be healed.
That's awesome. Sometimes when devastating things happen to us, that is when we find our purpose, when you start to reevaluate
Right.
ourselves. So how do you help women who feel overwhelmed in rediscovering their purpose? But it can be overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, life is overwhelming in
Yeah,
itself.
period.
Like, it's just, every day is a new day to, retrust God. So my first thing, and even in my book that I speak about, is about putting God first and not chasing, but running towards God, because we chase a lot of things in life today, whether it be money, success, fitness, a lot of things. But one thing that we forget to chase a lot of the times is God. And I try to tell women that are overwhelmed is to take a break. Take a break from social media, take a break from phone calls, take a break from TV, and just reconnect with God, reconnect in that quiet place so you can hear your thoughts and not be so anxious about everything. Because I think that also it enhances our anxiety. We're looking at the internet, we're looking at the TV, we're scrolling, we have so many accessibility to so many opinions and thoughts that we forget to reconnect with the Holy Spirit and reconnect with ourselves. So within that, I definitely believe that it's time for us to take the time to reconnect as women and really think about the things that matters to us most, so that we can definitely start to live within that spirit and know that it's nothing to be anxious about.
I agree with you there, because when I, you know, sometimes when you just remain silent, just
Mhm.
silent and I just say, just block your mind from everything and the
Mhm.
outside world, and just be in a space. Sometimes the things that was causing you confusion and all that, all of a sudden you get an idea, but it's not the idea now, it's the Holy Spirit, because
Mhm.
you're now still, he can speak to you. He
Right.
can now speak to your spirit and put this thing in your mind that you said, oh my gosh, I got the answer. And I
Exactly.
and I always tell my grandchildren, when you have a problem, yes, think about it and all that, but sleep on it. I trust you in the morning you get some form of solution.
Right.
Yes,
I
yes,
totally agree with that.
yes, you always have that. And I need to well, the decision paralysis. You gave me a segue. That's a segue into the other question. You sort of answered it a few minutes ago. We're bombarded with all kind of different
Hmm.
things, all kind of different ways to, or different solutions to the particular problem, and we get decision paralysis where we can't decide. We just freeze. So, would you like to expound on that a little?
Yes, I would. I think that decision paralysis is because of our addiction to social media and scrolling. What we forget a lot of the times is that we're listening to the culture's voice. So our what God is telling us to do and what the culture is telling us to do, and then our thoughts of what we're supposed to do, and did you do the laundry? So now you have all of these thoughts and you forget to do anything because you don't want to make a decision on nothing because you got so many decisions to make. So I think as women, we need to make a small step towards movement, because I think what happens is you get overwhelmed with trying to do everything today, and it's just like working out. If you try to work out and you never you never work out, and now you're doing 5 miles, you're gonna hurt, and most likely you're not gonna want to do it
I'm gonna
tomorrow.
go back.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing with when you are, when you wake up and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna tackle things today, those small bites versus trying to eat the whole elephant at one time, because then it's like, I don't want to make no more decisions. I'm tired. So I think getting the small steps and being intentional about the decisions. Why are you making this decision? Why does it matter? And is this gonna push me further, or is just this something I'm thinking about? So I do believe that we have this noise in our head and these opinions that honestly sometimes they're not ours. So I want women to understand that they need to connect back with writing. I know we love our phones. I know we love to take notes on our phones, but we need to write. And that even in my book, I have 7 journals that I prompt people on to get connected closer to God. And because writing is a spiritual form of communication with God as well. So we want to write our thoughts down. We want to write our emotions down and see why are we what is all this confusion, so that we can identify it. And also when we're writing those emotions down or those things that we need to do, we want to identify the cycles of, am I in the same cycle I was in 2015 and 2017? Am I in these cycles again and again? So now you can start to identify, how do I break out of this cycle? What do I need to do different? Because I'm writing the same thing down from this time. I should be this far, or I should be growing in this manner. So we want to write down to see, okay, how far did we get? What did we accomplish? What is going on? What decisions we didn't make, what decisions we can, leave for another time. So I think with all of that, we'll be able to understand that every decision is not meant to be made right now, but understand what decisions you need to make to grow, and then to break out of the cycles of whether you're going through a poverty mindset, whether you're going through the same fitness cycles, whether you're going through, just feeling like you're always being attacked, or the spirit of offense where you're like, everybody's offending me all the time, and just being even able to identify that and take an accountability for that. It's so many things that I want us to start writing down and taking those small steps, and then we can break out of the cycle of, oh, I didn't get to do this, that, and the third, but this is important to me and I'm going to get to that, and being okay with that.
I agree with that also because for even in my work environment, I've always practiced this. My mentor, that's the first thing my mentor taught me, that you need to write the things down. And then you need to analyze what are the low-hanging fruits, things that you can do and get rid of those. And then, you can focus on the things that are going to take a longer time to do. So you can strategize and you won't feel so overwhelmed with what you have to do. Yeah.
Right. I totally
Yeah.
agree with
Yeah. Yeah. So So can you share a personal experience where you a situation where you was second guessing and yourself and if you have a possible outcome, you have anything just they could tell us?
Um, so I've been in a place of feeling for a long time where I felt like I wasn't worthy enough. I wasn't worth it, or I was overcompensating my time, my attention, even in the workforce. Like I'm trying to over and outdo everybody in work because I want people to see me. I want to be seen. And I battled that for a very long time of the self-rejection, of rejecting my self-worth, of rejecting the lie to myself of, well, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. And I feel like I got stuck in that lie. And I realized that I wasn't stuck, I was just scared. I had a fear of following faith. I had a fear of what if things do work out? And I had a fear of not understanding how to be obedient. So in my work life and my personal life, things were self-sabotage a lot because I didn't know my worth and I didn't understand that I was good enough. So I think that the biggest thing for me was now I currently am now on this journey to become a personal coach, a personal development coach for others. And I want to be able to really show people that it's possible because I did not see myself doing this. I'm more of a person that likes to, do stuff in the background and just kind of focus on that. And I might do some videos here and there, but nothing consistent. I'm not like, doing
Hmm.
it all the time. And I find myself and that's a cycle I found myself in is like, I'll say like, oh, I'm pumped. I'm gonna do it. I got the motivation. And then I give up. And then I'm not consistent. And then I'm not focused. And then, something else got my attention. And I'm not staying on the mission because honestly, I'm scared to believe in it myself. So when I started to say, I'm gonna do it scared, I'm gonna do it anyway, that's when I launched my podcast, If the Mirror Could Talk. That's when I wrote my book. That's when I started to take my journey seriously and say, this is what I need to do for myself. But this is not only for me. This is for somebody that needs to hear my testimony and hear my journey so that they can start and they can break free from the same things that I was suffering from. So I definitely feel like, just being stuck, being anxious, being scared of my own success, I realized that it could be stopping somebody else from living their best life, because they need to hear that testimony from me or they need to hear it from you. So um, the best time to start is now. So I'm living it out right now, and I'm taking it day by day, and just staying consistent on the mission.
Yeah, self-sabotage is, I think all of us go through that. Uh, because one of the things I found is that if you just make that step when God gives you something to do and you start to doubt, because even when you look in the Bible, great men, Moses, they're doubting. They find all kind of excuse. People find excuse. And, because they're afraid or, that it's something new, something unique, something that they've never done before. So they're afraid of the unknown. But what I found from my personal journey is that when I make that first step, he always put somebody in place to mentor me or somebody to help me. He always send his I want to call them my angels. He always send his angels to help me along the journey that he has given me to go on.
Yes, I love
So
that.
yeah, so I believe if people just take that step. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. If you make a step, you're nearer to that 1,000 miles
Yes.
completion.
I like to say God can't steer a parked car. So
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I need to write that down. Yeah, he can,
yeah.
obviously. Yeah, when he gives you anything, as I said before, he's going to equip you.
Mm.
You might not really have the equipment, but sometimes when you just open your mouth, sometimes I've been in a situation where I've been asked to speak, and I'm like, I don't know anything. I'm afraid, and I tell you, when I listened to the tape after, I said, "Oh, is that me? Was that me? Did I do that?"
Right, right. No, seriously. Seriously. And God will bless you and he'll give you the words to say sometime when you don't have nothing to say.
Yeah, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, that was good.
Right.
So you sort of spoke about it, but what inspired you to create the mirror method? You sort
Yeah,
of
so
spoke about it a little bit, but yeah,
I
tell us a
kind
little
of
bit more.
did a
Yeah.
little bit, but I what inspired me is just to write it out and don't and stop just having it in my head. Because I thought about after that experience of, maybe not being able to walk again, I thought about what if I didn't walk out of that car that day? What's the story I'm gonna leave? What do people know about me? And sometimes you may feel like you're the way you see yourself, you might not show up like that in the world, but your heart does and your heart posture does. So I I may have not been showing up as polished as I wanted to be, or just, even as exuberant as I wanted to be, but I started to just write it out. What was my story? How did I get here? What happened to me after, my major aha moment? And why, like, what is actually going on with me? And how do I stay authentic through the times where I feel like you said, like you're like, oh, you get a speaking engagement, you're like, I don't need to speak here, or I'm not meant to do this. Is like, that's imposter syndrome. You are meant to be here. You are part of royalty. If God put you in that place, stand firm. And I needed to understand that. So once I understood that, I took that and I wrote it down and I said, I want other people to start writing their story alongside mine, to know that, to see the similarities and to see that you're not alone in whatever you're facing. And that's really what prompted me to say, I want to write the mirror method, because this was the method to let me see myself in the mirror as who God has called me to be today, and to be okay with, I have scars. I have a rod in my leg now. So I have so many different aspects that have changed because of that day. But to be able to say, I'm okay with that, because that's the journey that God has me on. And I'm okay with what I look like, what my body looks like, and what I am being divinely ordained to do. And understanding that my story and your story, you know, is going to break somebody free from
Yes.
something that they have been experiencing, but they need to hear it from you. And once I realized I can't stop someone's blessing from keeping my testimony or keeping, my situation to myself, and I have to share it, that's when I said, I'm going to share it in a book form. I'm going to share it on video. I'm going to do whatever it takes to let people know that God is real. He's still healing. And that if you're going through anxiety, depression, imposter syndrome, it won't be for long, because it does feel like a forever cycle sometimes.
Right. So what is the significance of the 7 days? Is there particular significance?
So the 7 days is significant to the 7 days of Genesis, of the creation.
Creation. Okay. All
Yes.
right.
So the creation, anything can be renewed or restored in 7 days. So that's why I did seven. And it's a lucky number for some.
I thought when I thought about it, I thought it was for completion, because on the
Mhm.
seventh day, seven is normally for completion, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have to connect that. But yes, it is for completion of becoming anew, and becoming, and just, completing your story that you want to share within the book.
So I know for me, like Nehemiah 8 verse 10, do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength.
Mhm.
What scriptures have had the most profound impact on your life and why?
Oh goodness. All things 8 Romans 8:28, all things are working out for the good of the Lord. All things are working out for your good. I think that that is a scripture that resonates with me so well because at on my journey of being able to walk again and being able to even get through that process, I had to understand that everything is working for my good. This is just the beginning. This is working for my good. In the suffering, understanding that everything is working for my good and knowing that it won't be long because it's working for my good and God will turn it around. So I think that that really is the best scripture I can continue to say because when things get rough, you got to remember everything is working for your good.
Right.
It looked like it's a shady situation, but trust me, God is going to turn it around. So I know I know I probably, sound like a minister here. Just going on.
No, 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 no. It's coming from your heart. And if that's what coming from your heart. That's what's coming from your heart. You know
Yes,
what I
and
mean?
I was telling someone that the earlier today, I'm like, I try to I try to talk and make videos about like business and like what I do in business, and it's just like every time I open my mouth, I'm talking about God, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to tell you guys. But it's like the best thing I know and the best thing I can teach people is to just go to God. There's so many strategies, there's so many things you could do, 100 ways to make money, and it's like, but I can't teach you how to have favor, and that's the one thing that I try to really like hone into people is when you got favor over your life, you don't even have to do anything. You don't
Yeah.
need no strategy. God will work it out on your
Right,
own, on
right,
your
right,
behalf.
right. You know what? So, sometimes you don't have to. I always tell people that we are the Bible. We are the walking, talking
Hmm.
Bible. A lot
Hmm.
of people don't know Christ, but they see Christ through us, through the things that we do, and how we react to situations, and how we overcome and when people treat us unfairly, we don't quarrel. We just pray for them,
Hmm.
you know. So, because even at work, most of them call me Sister Lorna. I don't, I
You've got it on you.
when I come and and they tell me anything about anybody, I say, no, man, just pray for them. Pray. We don't know what's
Yeah.
going on. People are going through different things. Just pray for
Yeah.
them.
That's true. That's true.
So that was it. Because Sister Lorna, what's going on today? I just, very much to me.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. You know, um, how do you maintain your motivation, when you have, with so many challenges? Because I'm sure your work environment, your business, this and that. So how do you maintain your own motivation? I know you have the scripture there that
Yeah.
that you that you lean on.
I think the biggest thing is time management, I will say.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Because I time management and organization is going to be two of the biggest things I'm going to talk about as far as when we get into business, trying to compartmentalize everything. What I do, and I was telling someone this the other day, I have business meetings with God. So I'll have a business meeting of what do you want me to focus on? What do you want me to do? Because sometimes I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
But is that what God is calling me to do at this moment? And putting and not compartmentalizing when I want God in it and when I don't want to have him involved. Like, oh, this is business. I'm not going to talk about it. I want to know, what do you want me to do? So having a business meeting with God, writing down, okay, if this is the first thing that I need to do, I'm going to spend 1 hour on each thing to make sure that I touch everything and then wrap it up at the end with making sure that the most important thing is always I should have started with that. The most important thing is always the first thing, because I want to get that out of the way. The easiest things are last. And then I want to make sure that I'm able to review everything. So that's something that I'm learning as I go, because organization and team to detail is a must when you are leading and also when you're doing multiple things. So it's great to do it one time, but once you do everything, go and check, review, make sure that it's right, make sure that it's correct, make sure that you didn't miss a period, or, you know, you didn't miss the file and you thought you put it in there, but you didn't, you know, and you're just rushing. So take your time and go back over all of your things, making sure that I'm organized and making sure that I'm allocating time. And when I do allocate that time, being present in that moment and not thinking, in the past, I would, you know, it's like I'm doing 50 things at once. It's like I'm doing my podcast. I'm trying to talk to people over here. I'm trying to read this contract. It's like, no, spend time doing the contract, spend time doing the podcast. So now you have been able to be present, and now you make less mistakes. Now the challenges that you have, you can be present when someone say, hey, I need to talk to you real quick, we have this going on. You're present because you know what's going on, and it's not like, oh, I glanced that over, let me look at it while I'm talking to you because I only got 5 minutes because I got to get to something else. So really being intentional about being in the moment and being organized and setting time for everything that I need to do, so that it's not like one thing is falling short because I was focused on everything at one time, because it's no way we're doing that. We're just going back and forth between things.
Yeah, just I learned it early in my career because I have a accounting auditing background. And if you want people to lose confidence in you, make a mistake. They start to question everything. So I always double check, triple check stuff.
That is a good one. That is a good one.
Yes, I prefer
I
people to
believe
say,
that.
I prefer people to say, you know, when I give them anything, they know it's right. They, you
They
know,
could
they say,
trust
no,
you.
no, Lorna did it. We don't have to, you know, we can take it,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, yeah. So what's next for you? What's next for you in your journey?
Oh my gosh. I'm moving forward to personal development coaching at this time. I am going to be personally coaching at least 5 women this year. I'm going to be very selective of those women, just because I have a course that I'm going to be doing, and I want this course I want to really give them that intentional one-on-one time, and just continue building my YouTube channel. So if you can't join, if you don't have, you know, the funds to be in the personal development coaching, you can watch my free videos on YouTube, and you can also get my book. I've sent some books out. I don't mind sending some more out, and that's all I have coming up soon.
Okay. So the final question.
Yeah.
What legacy do you hope to leave behind through the mirror method and your work? What's your legacy? What you want people to remember about you through this work?
I want people to remember at all times that God is real, God is good, and I also want people to remember that I was able to help others become a leader, and I wasn't a sole leader, but I led other leaders to be, you know, as great as they are, and to always put God first as well.
Okay. What a beautiful way to wrap up. Thank you so much. At
Thank
this
you.
point, would you like to tell people how to get in touch with you and your book, about your books, and any other thing that you want us to know? And also, if you send me the information, I can put it in our podcast notes.
Yes. So I have my screen blurred out, but this is my book,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The Mirah Method. I do have it on Kindle on Amazon. I have to get it on so you guys can order it, but I have some books at my house that I can send out. And yeah, you can find me everywhere on I am Mirah Young. I am mirahyoung.com. Well, mirahyoung.com, Mirah Young on LinkedIn, Mirah Young on Facebook, and I think I'm Mirah Young on Instagram. Yeah, so
Okay.
I am Mirah Young
Very
everywhere
young,
and
I love that.
mirahyoung.com. So
Okay, well,
yes.
that's good. That's good. That's good. That's awesome. So it was really a pleasure, and I'm sure listeners learned a lot, and I know they will make contact with you because we could go on another hour with
Yes.
yes, it was really a wonderful time speaking to you. And if this conversation resonates with you, listeners, don't wait another moment, but get in touch with Mirah Young, and she will mirror you in the right direction. How about that?
I love that. I love that. I thank you for having me on. This has been a pleasure speaking with you. And just thank you for your patience because I know it was
I know.
a challenge last week. So I thank you so much for your patience and taking the time to speak with me today.
All right. Thank you.